in India, the whole prospects about getting married, right? So it's mostly arranged marriage, most of the folks here, right? So the whole narrative is if my son is bald, his chances of getting a better bride is lesser. So I will need to work this out, you know. My confidence level completely changed after all this. Before being a balding guy to being a bald guy, my confidence is like easily, I would say 80% more. If 100 is the complete picture, I was 20% confident at that time. And now I feel like I'm 100% confident, all because I worked on myself, right? Not just on being shaving my head, but all these other aspects as well. So I think that played a very big factor for me in being very comfortable and being very confident, being able to walk in a room and not hide in a back door where people can't see. Or even if I'm in a group setting and someone is behind me, standing behind me, I would go back and stand behind them because I didn't want them to see. It was very weird, dude. And I was like very insecure. Even when I'm talking to people, they would look at my eyes and then within a few seconds they would look up and I would know when they're looking up that they're noticing my thinning hair, and that would bother me a lot as well. And even the constant criticism from workplace. At one point, even this woman in my office just came up to me and laughed at my hair. Straight up, she just came to the office, looked at me, and she laughed that you're losing your hair, dude. Haha. And yeah, it was very tough, man. Like, yeah.
At that time as well, because you are also kind of seeing yourself in that light when you're balding, you already have very low self-esteem, and someone laughs at you like that, you're not in a position to kind of reject that
Mm.
situation or opinion, right? You're almost thinking like, oh yeah, look, this just confirms to me how
Yeah.
that I am a joke or whatever, how I feel. Is that what it felt like?
Of course, yeah. I did feel like a loser. I felt like a joke. Uh I felt like no one liked me. I felt like no one wants to hang out with me. I know I took it too far in my head, but I know the people around me did love me and they did care about me and all that. But in my head, because of what I was going through, it became so difficult for me to even feel whole again. For me, it felt very difficult to feel like I can be myself in any place, in any setting. It was tough. I was about 18, 19, I guess, when I started noticing. So my dad's bald, right? So it is genetics in my family. So I guess about 18, 19 is when I started noticing that I am starting to lose my hair and my hair is thinning a little bit. And I have like three sisters, and they were like, "Hey, you know what? You need to do something about it." And then know some stuff, and they were like, "You should try minoxidil. You should try derma roller and stuff." So
Mm.
I started with a little bit of minoxidil, and I think during that time, that kind of delayed the process a little bit. And then I started going to college, and during my college times, I think my first year of college was okay. Things were not looking too bad. And then my second year of college, things started noticing quite visibly, and my friends around me would make fun of me, right?
In college, when kind of your friends start to notice, are you still using the minoxidil at that time?
At that time, I used to do it like once at the night and once in the morning. So yeah, twice a day. Yeah, it was during my second year of college, and my friends didn't help, right? They were not the supportive kind. They were just like, "Oh, look at this guy losing his hair."
Mhm.
And I would play along with the joke, but deep inside, I used to feel like, "Damn, is this really happening?"
Yeah.
Uh, And there were a couple of guys who sort of going through the same thing as me. But I mean, we would talk about it and we would make fun about it, and I would sort of play along because I didn't want to be the bomber in the group. So I just be like, yeah, I know I'm losing, but wait for a couple of months, it'll come back or whatever. But then after a point, I think as college was ending, I still did have like the whole comb over phase. I guess I did have a big gap here in the center, and I used to just cover it off with my hair and walk around, I guess. It was during the same time, where I would be embarrassed to take pictures. So every time I take a picture, I'd be putting my face all the way up. So my crown is not visible. Or I would wear a cap or a beanie or whatever. And I used to live in a place which was very hot, and I would still wear a beanie and walk around. So,
Really?
uh, yeah. And yeah, I mean, it was tough at that time, and my family does come from a conventional traditional family, right? So shaving my head was not something that I thought of back then. My focus was always about how do I save the hair in my head.
Yeah.
And then I moved cities after that. So I guess this was around 2021. I guess I moved cities. I moved away from home, and I had my first job and I moved to where I'm at right now. The change in city, the whole stress of starting your own, starting at your first job, being in a different place, a different environment, partying all night and whatnot. I didn't have like a good diet, let's just say that.
Right.
And I think things just went south from there. And and at the point, I guess around 22, I think things were looking pretty bad. And then I went to a dermatologist, and the dermatologist was like, you got to take these medicines, you got to take minoxidil, you got to take these shampoos. And I did that for a while. I didn't really enjoy it so much. I did minoxidil, I did all that, and things were looking okay. And then I even remember, I used to be in workplaces and things like people would comment around when you're not there, or you would overhear people talking about stuff.
What sort of comments were they making? Just
Oh, yeah.
commenting on it, or
Yeah, commenting on it. And some people are, very open about it. They don't beat around the bush. They're like, hey, you're losing hair, do something about it. And I'd be like, I never asked you, but that still was there. People giving advice is something people love to do, right? And I remember the even exact moment I realized I wanted to like shave my head. It was a couple of my colleagues were sitting around and I just walk into the table and someone says, oh, but this guy's losing his hair. They were talking about something else. And then they said, this guy's losing his hair. And I had no context to the conversation. And I was like, oh, I didn't ask for this. Yeah, when I got all these and I was like, you know what? I'm going to shave my head. And I think this is the time I used to watch a lot of your videos as well. Maybe this is the time it's time to shave my head. I go to the barber shop and the barber shop is like, funny enough, he's like, it's my first day today and I don't want to shave someone's head on the very first day, but I'll make it a buzz cut and I'll make it as thin as possible so it looks good.
Mhm.
And I was like, you know what? Okay, fine. I'm already here. Maybe let's take it a little slow. Let's not completely take the plunge and let's take it slow.
Yeah.
So at first, I had a buzz cut at that time. So it was like very thin here and here.
That's the cut he gave you.
That's the cut he gave me. So I
Okay.
go to the barber shop and I'm like, shave my head off. I don't want this. And then he's like, yeah.
Okay. He gave you the short buzz. Really quickly, before we kind of get onto that, I must ask you, because obviously, up to this point, the
Mhm.
option of shaving your head, actually going bald, was not an option, right? Like you said, in terms of traditional family and people around you kind of saying, no, you need to do something about this. I'm sure there was lots of like, oh yeah, my cousin, he used this and got his hair back or whatever, right? So
For
what
sure.
what changed then? What changed to get you to the point where you were like, actually, maybe I will just shave this off? Because those are two very different places, right?
Yeah, I think at that time, my family did. So my mom used to have all these Eastern remedies, onion juice and
Yeah.
lemon on your hair. Put some eggs in your hair. Like what? Just dump stuff in my hair, all the time. And my mom would try out a bunch of stuff. I mean, I love her, but I was like at one point, mom, this is not gonna keep going on.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, in my culture, I think I come from a kind of family where if I'm in my 20s and 30s and I shave my head and I grow a beard like this, it doesn't work. It just doesn't. You can't be that guy. You have to be the typical guy who's living a normal life, has a normal job, has a wife and kids, and just getting by. That's the thing that people want.
Don't
Uh,
stand out, right? Nobody wants to stand out or be, yeah, okay.
Yeah, because what would the society think is what my mom would always say. My relatives wouldn't like it, and my people that I don't even care about, they wouldn't like it. And
Mm.
what would they think about it? My mom would do all these, and
When you say your mum was doing these things, was she using those or she was like helping you do that? So like she would tell you,
helping me do that.
okay, so
Yeah.
you did try some of those things.
I did, yeah. I mean, she would come and be like, I found this and I think this is gonna work. And I would first like hesitate, but then I was like, what's the harm in not trying?
Give it a
Whatever
try.
works, right?
Mhm.
So she would do that. And yeah, she worried a little more about it than me, I guess, at one point.
Yeah.
Because in India, the whole prospects about getting married, right? So it's mostly arranged marriage, most of the folks here, right? So the whole narrative is if my son is bald, his chances of getting a better bride is lesser. So I will need to work this out. So my mom would like completely do all these things, do some
Okay.
research, and she would back then go to YouTube and find some videos as well and share it with me and stuff. But yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So typical, obviously worried mom, you're her baby, right? And you I guess because of the like you said, the arranged marriage, the way that that is structured, she's sort of taking the responsibility of your future into like on her shoulders, right, or in her hands. So she's like,
Yep.
okay, I need to help my son sort this out so we can actually get the agreement here with whoever
Yeah.
else. Okay, I get it. I get it. It's interesting. Yeah. Obviously, you're her son, you respect her, you try some of these things, but obviously they don't make a big breakthrough in bringing back the hair, right?
Yeah, and I think at this point I was in a different city, so I was not with my mom and dad. I was
Yeah.
with my friends, and at this time, I think more than anything else, it was a lack of confidence, right? I couldn't walk around, even like talk to women at this point, because I was like at the back of my head, I always had this constant thing like, oh, I don't think she's really interested, or I don't think she wants to talk to me. Or that was not even for girls, even for guys. I would be like, people don't want to talk to me or hang out with me because I'm bald. And I had this whole narrative in my head and I couldn't get it out. And yeah, and it was tough for me back then. I think it was at this point when my confidence was completely plummeted and I did not know how to move forward is
Right.
when I thought maybe I should shave my head. And then I go to the barber shop and it didn't happen, right? So I come back with a buzz cut. And then some of my friends and my family members were like, you know what, this is pretty good. You have not completely shaved your head, but it's a buzz cut and you can still see the bald spots, but it's not as bad as before. It was at this point I started going to another dermatologist who recommended I do something called PRP.
Take the blood out, centrifuge
Exactly.
it, and put it back
Yeah.
in, right? Yeah.
So after trying minoxidil for a long time, I thought maybe this is the chance to do that.
Yeah.
So I did my PRP treatments. I had like about 6 to 7 sessions at that time, uh, and things looked quite promising. I mean, my entire bald patch was covered, and everything looked good. And I thought, you know what, maybe things are looking good. Yeah, it was like a couple of sessions, and I started recommending my friends to it, whoever going bald, like, hey, this is the doctor, you got to go here. And then I remember the time when I realized this is also not going to work out, is when I realized that one of the medicine that the doctor gave me was something that reduces your testosterone, and the doctor never told me about it. And I kept taking these medicines. I think I just took the first two medications, and then I thought something was a little fishy, and then I thought, you know what, maybe I should just research about what medication I'm taking and not trust the doctor completely.
Mm.
And then I researched about this, and then I realized that this is a medicine that reduces your testosterone levels, which and then I go to the doctor, and the doctor's like, he doesn't even like address it. He's like, cool, I'll give you another medicine. And I was like, is if this is what my life is going to be, where I don't know what medicine I'm taking, and I have to keep doing minoxidil and I have to keep doing the whole derma roller thing, which is, you roll all over your head. I realized at the time that if this is what I need to keep doing for the rest of my life, I don't want it. And my friends around me and everyone were like, oh, Charan's back. He has all the hair. And people were asking me tips in my workplace, like, tell me what you did. How did you get your hair back? And I would tell them all these things, go to a dermatologist and, do a derma roller, do minoxidil and so on. But then deep inside, I started feeling like, you know what, I don't think this is going to work because I have to keep doing this for a very long time.
Mm.
Uh, and I think it was that point. And I even remember when I would not take the medicine or not do the minoxidil for a few days, my hair would start thinning again and I would start losing my hair. It was at that time I was like, I should just do it. I can't do this. And I can't keep going around with doing these things for the rest of my life.
As you mention it there, obviously you have to do these things every day. Did you feel an element or an aspect of that sort of hanging over you a bit, like it's like a bit of pressure on that because you must do it, otherwise you're faced with the sort of traumatizing feeling that your hair's falling out again?
Of course, yeah. I think every day, I mean, I was good at following it. I would do it every single day and
Mm.
every single night, the regimen and the whole process. But I think it was very taxing, right? To do something that eventually is not gonna be working out for the rest of your life. And at some point you're gonna go bald. It's in your genes. I was like, you know what, if this is what my life's gonna be, I don't want to keep doing this for so long and I just want to get rid of it. And I
Mm.
think it was at this point that I didn't go to a barber shop this time. I was like, I'm gonna do it myself. So I took a razor and I shaved it. I was staying with my roommates at the time, and yeah, I think even they were like, eager to see what's going to happen, right?
Yeah.
So I took the plunge and I was like, I'm going to do this. So I would say throughout the whole process, I didn't shave my head, just from being a bald guy to shave my head.
No.
I did it gradually. I did minoxidil, I did PRP. I gave it a try for a very long time because I was like, I want to do everything I can and see if it's going to work. And then if nothing works, then this is my last remedy, my last resort.
Mm.
But I mean, looking back at it now, maybe I should have taken that last resort much sooner because I spent a lot of money and a lot of years just trying to make it work.
Yeah.
When in reality, if I just took that step much early on, I think I would have been way better.
Mm.
I wouldn't have to spend so much money. I spent a lot of money on just medications and PRPs. PRP is pretty expensive, dude. Like every session is like a certain money, and I would do like 6, 7 sessions, and yeah, it was expensive. The doctor was telling me even if you lose your hair, if you feel like your hair is thinning, you might have to do a PRP now and then, just to sort of make it work. It's a ongoing process for the rest of your life, right? So yeah, and that's when I shaved my head, and then I think after that I never looked back. I think I was done with it. And my mom, she did not speak to me for a while.
Yeah, this is interesting. Yeah, so tell me, tell me more about that. I'm sure your close friends, maybe your close colleagues were like, yeah, good for good for you, like good for you. That's like good, and you're living away from your mum, so also you kind of have a bit of that freedom to kind of make that choice, right? But yeah, tell me about kind of, I guess, yeah, life after this, after that step.
That was a tough one. So I did this, and the my friends around me and people in my workplace, everyone, they were like, you know what, this looks much better for you. And there were some people who were like, what's wrong with you? Why do you have to do this? Why did you not try that? And they were like, you did have a good set of hair. You were getting better. What happened? They wouldn't understand the whole process you have to go through and how this is something that you'll have to do for so long and the regimen for the rest of your life. So I think at first, a lot of people had a lot of questions in my workplace and my friends as well. But after a certain point, I think they knew that, this is something that's permanent and you can, make it work this way. My mom, on the other hand, I never sent any pictures to my mom. I thought I'll just show up at the doorstep one day. So I was in a different city. So I went to my hometown and I just showed up at the door looking like this. And my mom, she's emotional. Okay, she's someone she cries a lot of times. So she cried this time as well. She was like, "My son's gone to a different city, and he decided to take things in his own hand, and he doesn't listen to me, and he's become this, the whole rowdy phase, I guess."
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, they're like, "Who is this guy?" Is more like what my mom. And she didn't talk to me for a couple of days. She was very upset with it.
Can you remember like the feeling that you had? You did describe it as like, you reflected on it, you thought, I don't want to do this for the rest of my life, all the treatments and all the worry. Obviously, your mum's very upset, and you have to kind of almost describe to her or explain to her, why you've taken this decision, right?
When I showed up and I had a bald head, she would, yeah, I think she didn't speak to me, and I was explaining to her, basically that you've seen how we've tried all these different things, and you were part of this journey as well. Onion juice, we've tried all the Eastern medicines, we've tried the Western medicines as well, and we've done minoxidils, and I'm saying we because my mom was in this journey with me for a long time, right? Told her all these things, and I told her if I want to be happy and if I want to be in a place where I don't have to worry about this ever, I think this is what it is. I don't want to be thinking about this for the rest of my life, because eventually I will go bald. Let's say I'm 40, 45, hair is going to thin out and you're going to lose your hair. So I was trying to explain to her that it is eventually going to happen. I'm just trying to make it much sooner so that I can be at peace and at comfort with my own self. And it took some time for her to resonate and understand that, obviously. But yeah, I think that's sort of how that conversation went.
Mm.
And she was quite teary, and I think it's because not just of the fact that I came back home and I looked different, but also because in her eyes, she felt like I gave up, right? She felt like, oh, we've tried all these things and now he's given up. He's not doing anything more. For the first couple of days, she would still say, I still have a remedy, your hair, I know you've shaved, but you can still do this, you can still do that. And I kept telling her, Mom, I'm done with that. I'm not doing any of that. This is what I'm going to be. And I think that took some time for her to settle with. She did speak to me at that time after for a few days, but she would still keep saying that there is this medicine that I found, or one of your uncles says, do this and it'll work. And I kept telling her, like, I'm not going to do any of that. I'm very happy where I'm at right now.
Mm.
And I think after a certain point, she knew that I'm at peace with how I am and who I am. And I
Mm.
think that's when she realized, okay, I think he's happy in this place and he's comfortable in this place. And she gave me that space that, and I think she came on board completely at that time. And I remember when it happened as well. I was sitting in the car, and my dad asks me, so we were just discussing about something else, and my dad's like, so is this how you're gonna be for the rest of your life? Have you decided to completely shave your head? And my mom goes, I think it looks pretty good. You should keep this. And yeah, I was like, whoa, that's quite the turn, mom,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So,
Amazing.
yeah, I think it was at that time that I was like, yeah, my mom's completely on board with this now. So, mm.
Fantastic.
And more than the fact that it's okay for me, I think she was more worried about what my relatives and what the society thought, because that's sort of how I think in India, especially your parents and there's a lot about what society thinks. People are too worried about that for whatever reason. It's probably just a cultural thing. I don't know, but people are way too worried about what your relatives think and what the people around you think. And I had to convince my mom a lot that this is something I'm happy with, and this is what I want to be. This is how I want to be. And yeah, I think after a certain point she understood, and now she's completely on board with it. But the second part of this story is, right, when I shaved my head, I didn't want to be the bald guy. I wanted to be the bald guy, but I also wanted to make sure that I fix all the other things in my life. Hair is one problem that's out, but that doesn't mean that I can still be someone who can just sit around lazy in the bed, eating junk food and not going to the gym. So when I shaved my head, I made it a point that, you know what, I went through so much just to come to this place where I'm comfortable with myself, but I don't want to be in a place where I'm insecure about something else,
Mm.
about my body or about my acne or skin. I had a lot of acne too at that time. So I made it a point that I need to get better in all these other aspects. I had a certain vision of what I wanted to be. And that is the time I started taking working out more seriously. I started going to the gym more seriously. And fitness became a big part of my life. That changed a lot of things. I have pictures, I think, where I completely look out of shape. I didn't want to send those to you because I was way too embarrassed to send that. I was out of shape. My hair was thinning, and I was like, I don't think I'm too embarrassed to even like show it to
Really?
anyone.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the person I am today, it came from a place of insecurity. Hair was one of it, but body dysmorphia, skin problems with acne. I fixed all those along the way because I was like, if I want to be able to fix whatever is fixable,
Mm.
hair is something I tried a lot to fix, but I couldn't fix it. But I can fix my body. I can go to the gym and make it work. I can get my skin in line. I can, do all these things. So that's when I think all these other things started shaping up. So in a way, me going bald, I think put everything in perspective and put everything in line. I was like, I want to be the best version of myself. This was my thought process from the very first day I shaved my head, that I want to be the best version of bald guy. People should look at me and be like, this is the kind of bald guy I want to be. If I'm losing my hair, this is the kind of inspiration that's gonna matter. So I made it a point that even though I completely shave my head, I want to be the best version of myself. There are some things that you can't really control, but whatever you can control, I think you should. And that's when I think fitness and skin came into place. And yeah, I think that's where I'm at right now. I think all these insecurities that I've had throughout my life is the whole reason I'm doing all these things right now. Even though you have insecurities, I think if you can work with it and if you can make it a strength for you and if you can do something about it, I think that can be the best thing that can happen to you.
Brilliant,
I think I
mate.
spoke for a long time, but
I know that's good. No, listen, I'm just totally with you on those points in terms of, I remember making a video a long way back talking about, are there any benefits to going bald like when you're kind of younger? And I think one of them is, when you have this challenge, because it is a challenge to kind of accept it and look at yourself in a different light. you know, for
Mm.
the first time when you go bald, or when you're, you know, reflecting on that phase of your life when you were really struggling with confidence and all the rest of it, when your hair was going, it does really push you to look at other areas of your life that you can improve and gain like that kind of confidence from changing or doing difficult things. You know, the mere fact that you were kind of afraid or didn't want to or felt like you couldn't go bald, and then you do, I mean, that gives you a whole new perspective on yourself and what you're capable of, that you then, as you've done, take on to the next thing, which is, okay, look, I've handled the hair. I kind of need, let me sort out this body because I'm, you know,
Mm.
lazy, out of shape, like not doing anything, and that just isn't good enough for me anymore. You know, it was at one point when I was stressing
Mm.
about the hair, but it's not good enough for the guy I am now after that. So no, man, it's a
Mm.
beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing to come from it, and I really commend you for, you know, getting out there doing those things and trying to inspire, you know, other guys to kind of do similar things for
Mm.
themselves. You know,
Yeah.
improving yourself or trying to improve yourself is a great thing, right? It's a great pursuit that almost never ends. Finances or how you treat people, your character, you know, there's always things that you can work on, and that's what kind of drives us, right? That's why we get out of bed, essentially. Is there any kind of message that you would share to perhaps guys who are in the position you were in, feeling kind of hopeless with it?
I think the one thing I would say is there's definitely light at the end of the tunnel, but you got to look for it and you got to work towards it. If you get lazy or if you lose track of where that light is, it's not going to work out. So you got to know where that light is and you got to move towards it. And I think that's what I would say to anyone who's watching this or anyone who's in the same position as I was in. I took a bold decision at that time that even after shaving my head, that, there is this ideal version of me that I want to be, and I'm going to get there. And I took steps every single day, working out every single day, taking care of my skin every single day, eating healthy, following a diet, working on myself, even meditating and my mental being as well.
Hmm.
I did all these things every single day to a place now where I feel like I'm more at peace than what I was before. And I think that requires a lot of dedication, persistence, and hard work. And what I would tell to people is don't lose hope. There's definitely light at the end of the tunnel and you can get there.
To get there, man, to reach the light. Amazing. No, thank you so much, dude. Like again, I'm really happy we got to do this and put this up. I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed listening to your experience, and you're looking top tier majestic, mate. I must say, it's great to see you like where you're at now, which is
Yeah.
fantastic, and it's cool for me, honestly, to know that like you first got in touch, you know, we first talked, you know, maybe like 5 years ago, right? Really kind of in the early days of Bald Cafe. And I mean, you're a prime example of why I started this and even wanted to talk about it online and have guys share their story, is so that you can go from that 20% confidence hiding in the back of rooms, allowing people to laugh at you, to where you're at now, you know, which is the complete opposite. And it's beautiful to see, man. So I can't wait to put this out and to share it with everyone. So thank you so much for your time, for your, you know, for wanting to do this, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. I think I had a great time. I never shared this story to anyone before, just a very few close friends, I guess. But this has never been too public, and I want it to be public for a reason because I want people to know that uh, there's things that can be done, and then there's a light at the end of the tunnel, like I said. So yeah, I think I finally came to a place where I thought, and that's when I hit you up because I was like, maybe it's time I share this story because I'm in a place where I'm very comfortable. So maybe it's time to share that.